Right, now the next question is, as a vegan, where do you get your calcium from? Well, this question is like the equivalent of the question that vegetarians get asked all the time, is where you get your protein from, and vegans get asked, where do you get your calcium from? The answer, very simply, is from the same place the cow gets its calcium from the green leafy things and from plant-based foods. That's the source that human beings, as herbivorous animals, actually get our calcium from. Now, when you have a look at sources like kale or spinach or silver beet, any of these green leafy vegetables, romaine lettuce, any of those, they're very, very high in calcium. They've also got a lot of iron as well, which are very beneficial. You've got things like almonds that not only are very rich in calcium, but also rich in magnesium. And you need magnesium in order to absorb calcium. So there's no problem as far as getting calcium from plant-based diets. Now, the real question is, what happens when people are consuming dairy products? Are they actually getting the calcium that they think that they're getting? Well, the evidence is actually showing that they're not. When you look at the populations in the world that consume the most amount of dairy, like the United States and Canada and the Scandinavian countries and Australia, New Zealand and in Britain and so forth, you find that there's very, very high levels of osteoporosis in these countries, some of the highest in the world. Whereas countries that don't consume dairy, like a lot of the Asian countries, like Vietnam and Cambodia, Thailand, Burma, all these sort of areas, they don't get osteoporosis to any significant levels. And there's a tribe in Africa called the Bantu that consume 1/10 the dietary calcium of what they do in the United States, and yet they've got some of the strongest bones that they've ever tested. It proves without a shadow of a doubt that you don't need to consume milk in order to get calcium and to have strong bones and teeth. Now, we had a nurses study, which was a 13-year study at Harvard University, that looked at two groups of nurses, one drinking 2 glasses of cow's milk a day and the other group not drinking the milk. And they found that after the period of time, that the group that had the highest bone tensile strength was the group that was not consuming the dairy. So why is it that there's a lot of calcium in the milk and yet it somehow leads to more osteoporosis? Well, osteoporosis is a porosity of the bones that has been caused by leaching of calcium. So yes, there is a lot of calcium in the milk, but there's other things in there as well. There, for example, is a sugar called lactose, and that lactose ferments into lactic acid in the intestines and even in the bloodstream, and that needs to be neutralized. And the body will use calcium, it will actually leach calcium out of the bones and teeth to neutralize it. It does the same thing with casein. Now, casein is the majority of the protein in milk. In fact, it's about 87% of the protein in milk. And it's also very acidic as well. And so it requires to be neutralized by the body. And so the body will leach calcium from the bones and teeth to neutralize the harmful effects of casein. So, yes, there's a lot of calcium in milk, but unfortunately there's so many other things in it that actually prevents the full absorption of it, so that you're actually worse off from a bone strength point of view and in terms of having calcium absorption than if you're on a healthy whole foods vegan diet.